Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome back. I'm Ronnie. I feel like I never introduced myself really. My name is Ronnie. I'm 25. I live in Orange County in California. And last night I was at work and I made a list of everything I love in the world. This is double-sided. Kind of, you could call it a gratitude list, but I don't know if my intention was that. I feel like sometimes gratitude lists feel very forced whenever I've tried to make one. I've been like, I'm missing all this stuff I'm grateful for. Like, it kind of makes me anxious to make a gratitude list because I feel like I'm like I feel a little bit OCD whenever I do it because I'm like, if I don't write down every single person in my family that I'm grateful for them, they're gonna die. But this is just a list of things I love. Let's get into it. Number one, making videos. I do really like making videos. I love making videos on TikTok. I love making videos on YouTube. Maybe I just like hearing myself talk, but it is really nice to use this medium. I don't know. It's really nice to explore my own brain a little bit. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting to know myself through this. The second thing I love is trees. I love trees. I mentioned this before, but you have the power to talk to trees if you want to. So you guys should all be using that more. You should be talking to trees. This is what you should do. You should go up to a tree and you should put your hand on it and just listen to it. Like seriously, just go up to it and just it'll breathe with you. I really like my bed. I really love my bed. I love my baby blanket. Do you guys want to see? Okay, I brought everything else in my bed with me too. Okay, I got this yesterday at IKEA and it's so cute. It's a little bunny in space. And then we have a lamb and a bunny and a duck. And wait, hold on. This one's good. Okay, guys, do you know what this is? This is Skippy. And I feel like I'm going to kind of get Disney adult allegations, but this is from he was an animatronic and it's a now defunct ride. It was the scary alien escape ride at Disney World. I never went on it, but again, I just like animatronics, so I thought it was really cool. And then in the ride, he got killed. It was so sad. They burned him. But he's so cute. His name is Skippy. And then guys, I'm gonna be vulnerable. I do sleep with a little blankie sometimes. It's needed. And the best way to sleep with it is kind of go like this and hold it up too. So you're holding it like this. Or if you want, you can kind of wrap it around your neck like that and then go to sleep like that. Just if you guys need some blanket inspo. Okay, another thing I love, my coworker the other day told me that when I do live streams on TikTok, him and his wife watch, and when I'm doing karaoke, I'm singing songs, and they're bad. If you haven't seen my live streams, I sing bad karaoke, it's just for fun. But he said him and his wife put the phone up and then they dance around the kitchen and they laugh, and that made me start crying. When he walked away after he told me that, I was because how sweet is that? I didn't even know that was happening. I didn't know that was happening. Okay, the next thing I love writing. Sometimes I share the poetry and writing that I do online, but it feels very vulnerable. It feels very scary to do. I don't know why. It just feels I think it's just something that you can so easily be bad at. So many people are bad at poetry, and I don't know, I'm scared I'm bad at poetry, but I really, really love writing poetry, and I've always loved writing poetry. Guys, since I was a kid, I've loved writing poetry. I think I mentioned this, but when I was a kid, I wrote a poem, and they published it in the LA Times, and that is the thing I'm most proud of myself for doing. That it was so cool that happened. And then the next day I went into school, and my teacher said, "We have a published poet in the classroom," and then everybody clapped. But that was a core memory, right? That was a core memory. Next thing I love is the ocean. During the summer, I go to the beach 3 times a week. I'll go alone. I'll go with friends. I just love being by the ocean. I'm afraid of deep water. I don't really like to swim out that far because I know a shark probably isn't gonna eat me, but like chances are never zero. And it's just really scary. I'd love to kind of get over that fear, but I've always been afraid of it. So I think it would take a lot for me to get over it. But I love the ocean. I love being by the beach. The smell of the beach is like the best smell on earth, genuinely. Like, just like when you smell the beach, does that give anybody else a love surge? When you smell the salt in the sea and the sand? Next thing I love 2010s radio indie. That genre. Let's talk about that. Passion Pit, okay? Let's talk about Postal Service, right? Okay, the next thing I love, the San Fernando Valley in LA. Guys, this is also a little bit get to know me. I grew up in Studio City in the San Fernando Valley, and I love the Valley in LA. I feel like the Valley kind of has like a bad rep. And also sometimes when I like edit my YouTube videos, I really do notice that I say like a lot. And I say a lot. And I think that's kind of like a Valley girl accent. I also do kind of have a little bit of vocal fry. So it is something I'm a little bit insecure about, but it's also like, that's my hometown. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like the fact that I like still have that accent and I still say like dude and like, I'm just still connected to that. So I love the Valley. And then I feel like the Valley is such a peaceful little bubble in LA. I think it's so beautiful. I don't live in LA, but if I were to move back to LA, I would move to the Valley. I really, really love it there. Next thing I love, I love ghosts. I love ghosts. I'm gonna make a video about ghosts online. I've been writing it. So turn those post notifications on because you're going to get a video about Ghost in the Machine. That's what it's going to be called. Ghost in the Machine. But I love ghosts. I love ghost stories. I love telling ghost stories. I love hearing ghost stories. I love the YouTube videos where people read off ghost stories. I love Reddit ghost stories. I've always loved ghost stories, and I've really always loved content about ghosts online. Like, I was a really big fan of BuzzFeed Unsolved. I love folk music, and recently I've been really, really into Phil Ox. Not that I just discovered him, but I kind of just got back on him recently, and I love Phil Ox, and it's also very like, it's like good music to listen to in the times we are right now, okay? He was making points back then. Next thing I love, candles. I feel like candles are kind of like, they're kind of like a luxury to me. Like, I don't buy them a lot because I'm always like, $10. I'm spending sometimes like $15. I'm not doing that. But then when I do and I get a candle, I'm like, this is it. And the little apple that was in my DJ videos, that's a candle from IKEA. Next thing I love, IKEA. You guys ever fuck up an IKEA? I love IKEA. And I love the food at IKEA. Like, dude, there's a little grocery store kind of section at the end of the IKEA. I buy food from there. I think it's awesome. Whenever somebody hasn't been to an IKEA, I'm like, you are going to love it. And I make them go to IKEA with me. It feels like a theme park, kind of, because there's like the two levels. There's like the showroom and the marketplace, and the showroom really, really feels like a theme park. I think it's kind of like a surreal place to be in. I think that's why I really like it, is because like there's that joke about like getting lost in IKEA. That's kind of like the meme online about IKEA. And then you're just walking through these like simulations of living rooms and bedrooms that like don't belong to anybody. It feels like there are ghosts there. And then it feels like there's a lot of kinetic energy in an IKEA. Like everything could be. You know what I mean? And they really do sell you like a message of inspiration and like hope. Like, if you ever look like on their products, sometimes there's like a little description that it's like a Swedish word, and it's like, this means the laughter we share together in cold winter nights. They have like an incredible like marketing psychology team. It's unbelievable. The next thing I really like is aging. My favorite part of my life has been now. Once I turned 25, 24 was really fun too, but I've enjoyed being older much more than I enjoyed being a teenager. Sometimes I get comments from teenagers on my TikTok that are like, you make me not afraid to grow up. And those are so cute when I get those. They're like, I see what I am in my future. And I always want to be like, yeah, man, being a teenager was really awful. I'm having so much more fun now. I feel like I'm so much more myself. Like I didn't know myself at all until I entered my 20s. I feel like that's when I really started experiencing life. I think that also kind of comes from like going through like traumatic events as a teenager. So that might not be like a very universal experience, but for me, I was really, really like in survival mode as a teenager. And then once I became an adult and I kind of like moved out of like the situations, I like started to interact and live in the world. So I've really, really liked aging and I'm so excited to keep aging. And I also have really liked it was freaking me out at first when I first noticed my face was aging. Like I noticed wrinkles here and I noticed like just everything was aging and I just look different. You know what I mean? I don't have like my like teenage like face fat anymore. And that's been really interesting to see my face change. I think it's really awesome. Next thing I love, health foods stores. I love, oh my gosh, okay, if it's like a mom and pop health food store, those are awesome. They just have such a really beautiful vibe. They're very like pale and they have such a smell to them. It's like essential oils and like dust and like nuts and berries. Like, oh, it's so beautiful there. It feels very like spiritual in there. Like I feel so connected to like my like cavemen in there. Like I feel like cavemen would love health food stores. I feel like they would hate like Walmarts, but they would love health food stores. I lived in Colorado for a time and there was a health food grocery store chain called Natural Grocers and I miss it so much. Shout out Natural Grocers. And I'm not talking about Whole Foods either. I do like Whole Foods, but it doesn't have the vibe. It's missing the vibe. Whole Foods is a simulacrum of a real gritty health food store. I also really love breakfast for dinner. I go through phases that last like a month or two at a time where I can only eat breakfast for dinner and I'm really just into breakfast food. I think because it's like so comforting. Like scrambled eggs and ketchup is just a really nice food to eat when you feel sad. Like it's such a comfort food. That's the word for that. The next thing I love my friends that I only know through the internet. I've always had friends online since I was a very young teenager. I've always connected and met people online and I'm always very grateful for that. And I know not everybody has friends online, but I have a lot of friends that I talk to daily that I FaceTime and call and text and like am in group chats and I love them. And I kind of, when I was a teenager, I was like, am I gonna like be friends with people online like forever? Like when I get older? Yeah, I am. I still really like them. I have this friend Parker that I've known for a year now. And that's one of my best friends. We talk every day. And then I have this friend Lindsay that I've known for less time, but I love her just the same, like so much. I always think about her. Whenever I see something, I got this bunny thing because it reminded me of her. This is like what she looks like to me. I really want to hang out with them. The next thing I love is black holes. I love the theory of relativity. They're just cool. I don't know. I think some people get so freaked out about space. People get so freaked out about black holes. You can't start talking about black holes because somebody's going to be like, oh, it's so scary. It's like an endless void that we just, no. It's cool. I watched Interstellar for the first time. I know. Don't start with that I'd never watched Interstellar, but I didn't watch it in theaters. And then I was like, well, I can't watch it because I don't want to watch it like on a TV. I feel like that's not going to be like the full experience. So I just never watched it after that because I didn't want to have like a subpar viewing experience of Interstellar. Then last month in December, for the 10-year anniversary, they put it in IMAX. So I went and I saw it by myself in IMAX for the first time ever. And I knew like the general plot, but I didn't really have any real spoilers because I'd also like kind of avoided it for the last 10 years, just because I was like, well, if I do watch it one day, and I'm smart because I knew I was gonna watch it one day, and I was alone, and oh, I cried. I cried so much. There was like one point where I was like trying to stop myself from audibly like sobbing, like real like groans. Like it was kind of embarrassing. And then I left the theater and I had to walk through a mall from the theater to my car, and I was still crying and I couldn't stop crying. So I was just walking around the mall, like tears streaming down my face, and I was really embarrassed about it. Next thing I love is roller coasters. I love roller coasters so much so that I actually work at a roller coaster. Yup. It's really awesome. I just like knowing how they work. I think one time I was working and this guest told me, you're kind of like an engineer. And I was like, oh no, I'm not. I'm not an engineer. I just work here. I just memorized procedures. Yeah, I'm just pressing go and stuff. And he was like, no, you're kind of an engineer. And this whole thing, I like to think of it as like a robot. And I was like, you think about the roller coaster as a robot? And he was like, yeah. And he was like explaining that. And it was like stuff that I'm not smart enough to understand, but it made me kind of think of it differently. I was like, it is a robot. Like, I don't know, like robots don't really have consciousness. Like they're kind of like a body without a consciousness, which is the opposite of a ghost, right? Which is a soul without a body, like a consciousness without a body, but they're kind of like similar in my mind for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like there's like, they like connect with each other there, ghosts and robots. But thinking of a roller coaster as a robot kind of personified it a little bit to me, and it made me think of it differently. And I thought it was really beautiful that he said that. Okay, the next thing I love, this is also a work thing, but there are regulars at the theme park. There's people who have like annual passes that go all the time. And one of them is this kid named Aiden. And he is the smartest kid I've ever met. He's so sweet. I think he's like 10 years old. He made me a friendship bracelet and it says Ronnie on it. And he also made me a little drawing of us and it says Ronnie and Aiden BFFs. Wait, I'll show you. I put it in a frame so I could have it forever. I put it in a frame. That's us. And it says BFFs. And that's on my wall. The first time I met Aiden, the ride had broken down and he was like, why'd the ride break down? And I gave him like some answer. I always give kids like some like, you know, whatever, like, oh, the animals got out. But he was like, oh, was it not one of the linear induction motors in zone 6? And I was like, how do you know about that? And he just like spewed off a bunch of information that was like really detailed, deep knowledge about roller coaster anatomy and how it works. And like genuinely, I think he knows more about the roller coaster than I do. And he's just so sweet. And he deserves the world. And he always talks about how he's going to work at the roller coaster one day when he grows up. It's going to be so cute. But I love that kid. That's one of the things I love in this world is Aiden. Next thing I love is cowboys and the Wild West. I just love that aesthetic so much. And I love that period of history. It's just so interesting. It like, when I think of like American history, cowboys obviously come to mind, but that's just like, it's so beautiful and it's so deeply American. That's another thing I love. I do love America. I love the people in America. I love the migrants in America. I love people in America. That's why I like America. I love the people in America. I think at its best, it truly is a melting pot of different cultures and people. And I think by living in America, you have the opportunity to meet people that are so different from you. And that is invaluable and priceless, to have that opportunity to meet people that are different than you. That is really important. Sameness is, it's like a curse. The next thing I love, this also a space thing. My favorite planet is Jupiter. I love Jupiter. It's just so cool. And I love the red spot on Jupiter. It's just a very beautiful planet. That's not even like, if we're going to go into like astrology, like zodiac, that's not my ruling planet. I'm a Libra, so my ruling planet is Venus. But there's something about Jupiter that's just it feels peaceful. I don't know why, because there's that storm, but it feels peaceful to me. I really like it. I also really love Sirius. It's a star. It's also called the rainbow star. You can see it in the night sky. And it's called the rainbow star because it flashes colors. So if you ever noticed a star that's flashing colors like that really fast, that's Sirius. And that's a really good star to make wishes on. Life hack. I also really, really love cooking. I love cooking so much. Cooking feels incredibly grounding to me. When my head is spinning, when I'm stressed out, I know I just need to cook. And I love like a very long recipe. I love a painstaking recipe. I think like cooking is like an art form, and it feels like art. Like when you're cooking and then you have the finished product, it feels like art. And there's a lot of failure in cooking, which I think is always good. And I think that's also a reason people are kind of scared of like learning cooking or like really committing to it, is because they're like, I'm gonna mess up 100 times. It's like, yeah, everybody messes up 100 times when cooking. Like the best chefs in the world mess up while cooking. Like, you know what I mean? It's such an intersection of like art and science, and it's very beautiful. Baking is much more intimidating to me than cooking. That is like an actual science. Like that is very hard to do, but I really want to get into baking this year. That is like a 2025 goal for me, is I want to start baking. I want to start making like little mini cakes kind of. I'm very inspired by Amy France, who's on Instagram and TikTok. That's one of my favorite influencers ever. She makes these really beautiful little cakes, and I'd love to do that too. I also really love websites. I love a good old-fashioned website. I love traveling to a website. I love, remember that website? It was like, take me to a useless website. That was so fun. That was like the best thing ever invented. And then I also really, really like birds. When I was a kid, the first hyperfixation I ever truly had was on birds. I love birds, and specifically birds of prey I was very interested in. So my favorite bird was a red-tailed hawk. A close second was a peregrine falcon, which is actually the fastest animal on earth. And not a lot of people know that. They always say cheetah. It's not cheetah, it's a peregrine falcon. That's the fastest land and air animal. Red-tailed hawks are very common in California, so whenever I see them, I get, yeah, red-tailed hawk, and I feel kind of connected to little me. I always kind of like cringe saying that. I feel connected to my inner child, but like it's true. It's true. Okay guys, that was a list of a lot of things that I love. It's not everything I love, but I think this is kind of a fun way to just remind yourself that, you know, even in the worst times, there's still a lot of stuff to love out there. And it's good to appreciate those things. Okay, bye.